of 1976. We'll certainly give you a lot more here from the Orlando Stadium. We're expecting many more to trickle into the stadium. I must say, more than half full at this point. Quite a huge enthusiasm for the celebration. Look at those pictures there. Many have come, both young and old, to come and celebrate and commemorate. Most of the stadium there, you can see, is getting full there, and we're expecting proceedings to get underway very shortly. Let's cross back to you in studio, and certainly we will come back to you a bit later on about all that's happening here at the Orlando Stadium on this, the 40th commemoration or celebration of the 1976 Soweto uprising. Guys, give me a bit more information, please. I don't understand what's going on.
People are celebrating this June 16 like a festival.
What has happened to us?
I'm an African man. I don't celebrate death. June 16 was a day in which people died.
We were sinking deeper and deeper in a quagmire of hardship.
What we must do, we must learn.
It's so emotional. We should change this thing.
Education is an important thing that is a master key, can open any locked doors.
June 16 should be a day in which not only young people, but South Africa should sort of take a reflection and say, where do we come from? Where are we? Where are we getting to?
Did you go to heaven?
Kelvin is the one who created all this.
What are you fighting over? Us?
If there is 10 million in my account, it will be in the front page the next day.
Do you have 10 million?
Oh, Jesus, hold my hand. Hallelujah.
It's happening right here on Question Time today.
Monday to Thursday at 5:30 p.m. on the SABC News Channel.
Oh, happy June 16. Hello and welcome to this very special SABC News Youth Day broadcast coming to you live from our studios here in Auckland Park in Johannesburg. Now, today is the 40th anniversary of the Soweto uprisings. June 16 was the first day of what came to be called the Soweto uprising, a day that students stood up against the Bantu education system. It began in the Johannesburg township but soon spread to other townships around the country and continued until the end of that year. Now, while many parts of the country are celebrating the iconic day in South African history, today's main commemorations are taking place at Orlando Stadium in Soweto, where President Jacob Zuma will deliver the keynote address. Now, he's expected to highlight government strides in its efforts to empower and give hope to young people. The theme of this year's Youth Day is Youth Moving South Africa Forward. The event will be broadcast live here on the SABC News Channel 44 as well as SABC 1. At the same time, June 16 ceremony, our reporter spoke to David Makura, who's a Gauteng Premier.
On a day like this, it's important to remember that many young people died in pursuit of a just cause, access to quality education, and indeed the end to apartheid education and to apartheid. So those young people were many. They ran into more than 600. And we know that not all of them have been acknowledged. And I'm very pleased that this morning one of the streets here in Soweto, Tabete Street, was renamed after Hastings Ndlovu, one of the young people who, among the first people who died that morning 40 years ago. So it's important. There are still many young people who are referred to as nameless who died. We need, as a nation, to pause. We need to know each one of them. We need to, on an occasion like this, to pause, to remember their contributions and commit ourselves that we will never forget them. And on an occasion like this, again, call on the youth of today, today's generation, to say the youth of 76 defined their mission, and the youth of today must stand up also and define their mission. And they have to do the most positive things as a way of defining their mission and get out of all the negative things, including drugs, but ensure also that they continue to work with us to fight. It's correct to fight for quality education. The focal point for the youth must always be start with education and work with us to address the challenge of youth unemployment. There are many interventions we are making, but we want to work with young people. We want to work with the private sector to open up opportunities for the youth. They can only gain experience if they are given an opportunity to have access into the labor market. So as we come together today, we deal with the past, but we also talk about the future.
Premier, we have seen quite a number of violent protests, specifically within the education sector. We saw in Vuwani that schools were burnt, and we have seen in Gauteng quite a number of sporadic protests happening around education. What intervention measures do you have to deal with those issues?
We have been engaging young people in the province. We are continuing to do that this month. One important thing we want our youth to do is they shouldn't be part of the destruction of property. In the universities, we are calling on the youth in the universities that to build universities and put up the infrastructure that they so dearly need to improve their own quality of life has taken a long time. It has taken resources. It has taken a lot of effort. They must be the custodians of this infrastructure. In the communities, we say the same. To build the schools, which we are putting a significantly expensive equipment like ICT infrastructure, they mustn't for a moment be party. They should actually be the defenders and the protectors of this infrastructure. The libraries which we are putting on, we are getting this ICT onto these libraries so that access to information by our young people is made as easy as possible. They must be the ones who protect this infrastructure. So I would say that young people are responding positively. Yesterday we addressed, we had Nterisano with the youth in our province, more than 5,000 young people. They are responding very positively that they are the custodians of these facilities, this infrastructure, and they would not be used by anyone in the protest to destroy the infrastructure and the public facilities that we are building.
Okay. Premier, this particular wreath-laying ceremony was very heartfelt, and it really tugged at the emotional heartstrings. What was so significant about laying the wreaths here?
Well, I think this is a moment about, what happened. At this moment when we're laying the wreath, we're connecting with the spirit of those who passed on this day. We're connecting also with the pain of their families, who I have seen the families 40 years later. The pain is still deep. It's almost like it happened yesterday. When you talk to them, people feel that we have come a long way, but they still have to heal. So it is an important moment. We must continue to do this. I think future generations, I wish future generations, 50, 100 years from now, can still connect with what happened that day and the feelings, still have deep feelings of the sacrifices and contributions of those young people as if it happened yesterday.
For more on the Youth Day proceedings now, let's cross live to our reporter on the scene, Criselda Lewis, who is at the Orlando Stadium in Soweto. Criselda, a very good afternoon to you. Do give us the very latest from the proceedings in Orlando Stadium.
Well, Alicia, it certainly is a hive of activity here at the Orlando Stadium. I can tell you It is almost full. We saw quite an enthusiasm since this morning from many around this area. We saw quite a number of buses that have come in here at the Orlando Stadium. Many saying they want to pay tribute to those of 1976. It certainly cannot be a story, that just simply happened. And for the youth of 2016 not to be reminded of the grave sacrifice that happened back then. Certainly I can say the democracy that we now enjoy certainly culminates from events such as 1976, where we saw those brave young children take to the streets against an oppressive government. Today we sit and enjoy democracy. We're able to come to the stadium and tell stories, I guess, about what happened then, and certainly look at places perhaps where we're still lacking. That's where we're expecting President Jacob Zuma to come in, and where he will address some of those successes that government has and the challenges that still remain, both old and new challenges as well. But Alicia, I know that you perhaps want to ask me more questions, but I must tell you, I have a very important guest with me here this morning, who is General Ernest Pule. Now, General Ernest Pule was one of those who participated in that historic moment in 1976. But most crucially, what we want to talk about, thank you very much for joining us, General Pule. Thanks for your time this morning. When we look at your story, I guess, and the story of many others, 1976 didn't just happen. In particular, where you were at Naledi High, weeks earlier, we saw that momentum had been building already. Tell us a bit about that, because I understand that apartheid police had come to your school and were looking for some of the students who were involved in political activity. And that's basically when you said enough is enough.
Correct. Yeah, it has happened a few weeks before, June 16, 1976, that the police had come to pick up one of our students. It was specifically the special branch. So it was during lunchtime, and they had gone into the office of our principal and negotiating the arrest of the student. Fortunately for him, and for us as well, we came back from lunchtime. When we got to the school, we realized that the special branch around, and we got it that they were targeting to arrest one of us. We said this is not going to happen. And while they were still in the principal's office, we took their car, turned it around over, flipped it over, and then bent it. And then, fortunately for them, it was just a few weeks before that we had gotten the telephone in our offices. All this time, we didn't have a telephone. Yes. But fortunately for them, they managed to grab the phone and then call for reinforcements. While we were still burning the car, and then the police were there, and we started fighting them, tear gas, shotguns and all that, and we started fighting right away. So from then on up until the actual June 16, 1976, the momentum has already picked up at Naledi High. So when the students in Pefeni primary then were protesting that they did not want to be taught through the media.
Sorry, General Pule, I think let's just take a look at our monitor there. Well, President Jacob Zuma, you see there a resounding welcome at the Orlando Stadium there with his deputy as well, Cyril Ramaphosa, all greeting both young and old, all here to commemorate and celebrate. It'll be very interesting to hear what the president has to say to young people today. Sometimes I guess we might be a little bit despondent. We've seen the youth of 2016, raise quite a number of challenges. We saw fees must fall. We saw issues of racism that featured quite prominently. We expect the president certainly to address many of those issues. I tell you, screams from all around the Orlando Stadium here this morning, from many who are wearing the uniforms of their different schools. I guess also symbolizing that, many of the schools, like back then in 1976, who all came together, schools uniting, different uniforms uniting. We see those colors on those stands here this morning, coming united, young people, some of those old, some of those who participated in that protest in 1976. A resounding welcome there for President Jacob Zuma. But let's continue with our discussion here in studio. General Ernest Boule, who was one of those who participated in the 1976 protest against this Afrikaans being used as a medium of instruction. General, you were still telling us about how difficult it was back then. Let's fast forward 40 years later. The current state of education in South Africa, what you were fighting for, what are your views?
No, there's a big difference really between then and now. Why I'm saying that? Because now the government is, can listen, can consult with the people. For instance, the recent student protest, right? They were protesting, they would do all sorts of things, but then the government sat down, talked with them, and then the problem was resolved. But then what was funny for me is the destruction of property, the burning and all sorts of things. It was not necessary really, because we've got a different government by now. But then and now, it's two different types of government. The then government did not listen to anyone, especially the black people. But then the current government is our government. We voted it into power. So the only thing that we're supposed to do is to consult to say that we students, we want 1, 2, 3 on the basis of that, please, and give time limits if the research. And obviously, it was going to be resolved as it has happened now.
Well, before we go to our next question, I think let's just also welcome our viewers on SABC 1. We've been broadcasting since this morning on the SABC's 24-hour news channel on DSTV channel 404. Thank you very much to all our viewers on SABC 1 for joining us. You're just joining us this morning. We're all waking up to the 40th anniversary and commemoration of the Soweto uprisings of 1976. We're chatting now to one of those who participated in that protest, that historic protest that paved the way for free education, for education to become more accessible to perhaps the youth of 2016 or those of post 1994. General Ernest Boule as well joining us this morning. You were telling us a bit about your disappointment when it comes to the manner in which the youth of 2016 have raised their concerns. But I guess many would say the concerns they've raised are legitimate. There are concerns perhaps that have fallen on deaf ears. Hence, they have resorted to that kind of action. So, yes, I agree with you, I guess, when you say the regime of then did not listen. But you might get the argument today that young people would say we're not being listened to as we should be. What would your response be to that?
No, it's not that they were not listened to. A system was put in place. That's why there is NSFAS now, isn't it? That is there. The only thing that maybe they could complain about is the fact that the funds were not enough. And that is something that could have consulted the government on the basis of that. And obviously the government would have listened as it has done. But then the distraction really, I mean, we have lost millions and millions of rands out of damage. You understand? Those millions could have been channeled somewhere else.
Yes.
Yeah, so it was pointless really to causing such distraction over grievance.
Oh, absolutely. I guess the struggles then are very different from the struggles now, and as you're saying that young people can certainly raise the concerns that they might have on the various platforms, I guess, that have been made available for them instead of really burning property and causing so much destruction. Well, the official program is about to get underway at the moment. You can see President Jacob Zuma there as well with Faith Mazibu for the MEC here in Gauteng, having a discussion there. We look forward to that address by President Jacob Zuma a bit later on this morning. But on the podium there is the Deputy Minister in the Presidency, Buti Manamela, who I guess will be leading proceedings here this morning. President Jacob Zuma, I guess, to speak in the next few minutes. Let's see what he will have to say about encouraging young people. While they may face many challenges, what opportunities and how government will fix some of the challenges that they face today, both old challenges and perhaps the new challenges relating to drug abuse, to access to education, regarding the high unemployment rate amongst young people. But you see there on our screen again, President Jacob Zuma with his deputy Cyril Ramaphosa. Let's go now to the podium where the Deputy Minister in the Presidency, Buti Manamela, is getting proceedings underway.
the choir on stage who are going to lead us with the national anthem and the AU anthem. I want us to all rise. Bontate batsubuledi KPC. Ariamen Kamautu. Bontate batsubuledi KPC. So that we all observe a moment of silence. Amanda! Wherever you are seated, wherever you are standing now, can we all be as quiet as possible so that in honor of the youth of June 16, 1976, we observe a moment of silence. Those of you on this side of the stadium, can we all be quiet? We appeal, we are pleading, please, can we all be quiet so that we observe a moment of silence? May the soul of those who died on June 16, 1976, all over the country, may their souls rest in peace. We'd like to invite the choir, as we're still all standing, to lead us with the AU anthem and the national anthem, and may we all be dead silent as we are led by the choir. Thank you. Let us all unite and celebrate together the victories of our liberation. Let us sing sacrifice together to declare our liberty and unity. Our souls and yours and words of glory.
Hola, Orlando Stadium, hola. Halala, bacha, halala. Chovicho, mangani, chovicho. Masoneni zandla moyeni. Siyabonga kakhulu, thank you very much. East Youth Choir for the national anthem. Besicela khona abantu abaculayo lapha phezulu. Phezani manje, siyabonga. Relebuha, emisangu bina. We will now invite our Premier, Ubabu David Makura, to come and welcome us here today. Babu Premier.
Long live the fighting spirit of the 1976 generation. Long live. Long live the fighting spirit of the youth of 1976. Long live. Hola bangani hola. Nizoitola kanjani. Uzoitola kanjani. Thank you very much to our program directors, President of the Republic of South Africa, His Excellency President Jacob Zuma, Deputy President Cyril Ramaphosa, the ministers, deputy ministers, the premiers, the MECs, the executive mayor of the city of Johannesburg and all the mayors, members of the June 16 Foundation, the families who lost their loved ones on this fateful day 40 years ago, distinguished leaders of the faith-based community, students, learners, and today's generation of young people. Today we come together here in Soweto to mark the 40th anniversary of the student uprisings of June 16, 1976. We welcome you here in Soweto. We welcome you in the city of Johannesburg. We welcome you in Gauteng. Comrade President, young people have come here from all over the province to come and hear your message. Young people in our province are here. The youth of today are ready to tackle the challenges of today. The youth of today want to define their own mission. They want to tackle their own challenges. They want to do so learning from the lessons of the youth of 1976. The youth of today have their own unique challenges, but they live in a free and democratic South Africa. Young people of today have enormous opportunities. They have challenges as well. And young people of today are ready to tackle these challenges. Are you ready to tackle the challenges of today? Are you ready to tackle the challenges of the youth of 2016? Thank you very much. Comrade President, young people are here to listen to you. As I say, they come from all over. So where to are you here? Tshwane, are you here? Johannesburg, are you here? Ekurhuleni, are you here? Westland, are you here? Sidibeng, are you here?
Uzoitola kanjani? Uhlele koneni? Thank you very much. You are welcome. You are welcome. Thank you very much.
Siyabonga kakhulu Ndunankulu. We will now receive a message of support from the June 16 Foundation, represented by Ubabu Popo Maja. Popo Maja.
Mr. President, Deputy President, Your Excellencies, fellow South Africans. Someone once said that in peace, sons bury their fathers, and in war, fathers bury their sons. The June 16, 1976 uprising saw mothers and fathers bury their sons and daughters. Their lives were withered before they could barely bosom, cut short by the apartheid war machinery. The June 16 Foundation would like to thank you and our government for inviting us to join the country in paying tribute to the June 16 Foundation and the June 16 generation. Mr. President, I'm here to talk about the children of Soweto, those who witnessed the butcher of their own fellow classmates on this day 40 years ago. Those who helplessly saw their fellow students falling into open graves, either dead or critically wounded, while they came to bury their own. Mr. President, we will never know how many died on that day. We will never know their names. We will never know where they came from. Oh, those young boys and girls, they shall not grow old as we who are left to tell their story. Age shall not weary them, nor years condemn. At the going down of the sun and at the crack of the new day, we shall remember them. We shall remember you, Tsietsi Mashinini. We shall remember you, Khoto Siahlolo. Mr. President, I'm talking about those who died in various battles against the apartheid security forces. I'm talking about those who were forced into exile in their teens. Those who joined the war of liberation for our motherland. I'm talking about those, Mr. President, who fell victim of mice poisoning and massive aerial bombings in Novakatenga in Angola. Those who, on their way to the country in their full guerrilla army gear, fell prey to hippos and crocodiles. Mr. President, I'm talking about those who were captured, who were tortured, who were injured, and yet refused to become Askaris. I'm referring to those who on Robben Island were forced to acquire their education by studying in the toilets of the communal cells. Oh, those young people, they shall not grow old as we who are left with the burden of telling their story shall grow old. Although they never lived to witness the fruits of their exploits, age shall not weary them, nor years condemn them. At the dawn of the rising sun and at the crack of the rising day, we shall remember them. Mr. President, the June 16 Foundation would like to take this opportunity to implore fellow South Africans not to forget the contribution and the sacrifices that the youth of Soweto 40 years ago made for the liberation of this country. We request you, fellow South Africans, to remember that we too are still part of you. There is a French saying that to be forgotten is to die a little. To be forgotten is to lose some of the links that anchors us to the rest of humanity. This reminds one of what we used to say on Robben Island when comrades were being released. We would say, "Ungasilibali qabani." Don't forget us, comrades. Which meant they should not forget our plight. They should not forget the task before us, the liberation of our motherland. We are saying to you today, please do not forget us. We still belong to your world. War is not the only arena that pushes peace and disrupts social life. Poverty, we know, sows conflict. Poverty degrades. Poverty enrages. Poverty dehumanizes. Peace and social harmony are indivisible to the form of democracy that we are looking for. Most of us who belong to the 1976 generation, we still struggle to make ends meet, like many youth do. Our country has enormous potential to have a child not sleeping with an empty stomach. We do know that it is not within the means of our government alone to get rid of or to reduce poverty. We request, we implore the business community to employ young people, to provide opportunities for young people. Mr. President, The person who's speaking before you was a drop in the ocean of young people who marched on that day 40 years ago. As opposed to some recorded history, we did not plan any violence. We did not carry petrol bombs when we marched. We did not carry stones when we marched. We only retaliated when we were fired at, when we were shot at. Mr. President, to our political leadership, we request this, that let us tolerate one another, that the chaos that we see in the Houses of Parliament should not be allowed. These chaos have the replication of unlawfulness elsewhere in our country. To the youth of our country, we say to you, do not listen to them who, under the cover of darkness, agitate you to ban schools or to ban anything. Do not ban anything. The banning was done for you. The dying was done for you. We are asking you to go to school, educate yourself, and make this country the country that we all yearn for. Mr. President, Deputy President, Your Excellencies, we thank you.
Viva the youth of June 16, 1976, viva! Viva the youth of June 16, 1976, viva! Viva Khotso Siahlulo, viva! Viva Popo Molefe, viva! Viva Billy Masetla, viva! Viva Paul Langa, viva! Viva Seth Mazibuko, viva! Amandla! We would like to invite to speak on behalf of the families, a family representative, Ms. Lisedi Mashinini. Can we give her a round of applause as she comes and speak on behalf of the family?
Honorable President Jacob Zuma, Honorable Deputy President Cyril Ramaphosa, Honorable Ministers and Deputy Ministers, Honorable David Makura, Premier of our beautiful province of Gauteng, Honorable Mayor Parks Tau of the Gauteng Golden City, fellow countrymen, my peers, ladies and gentlemen, I stand here proud to have been chosen by the families of those who lost loved ones in the brutal events of June 16 to represent them. I stand here, the niece of my proud uncle Tsetse Mashinini, who gave his life for the freedom of his people. The families I represent include the Petersons. We can still see the limp body of Hector carried by Mbuisa Makubu and a shocked Antoinette following. The families of the murdered Hastings Ndlovu, the dedicated Dr. Edelstein who came into the township to change the lives of those less fortunate than him. All of them thought I should carry the baton of the fallen heroes. These families asked me, the niece of my equally heroic uncle Teddy, to stand here to do the following. To thank you, the government of our free country, for continuing to recognize our fallen family members. We thank you for continuing to remind our country that without the blood that was spilled so we can be free, there would be no democratic South Africa today. I wish to emphasize our youth of our country. During this month of youth, let us remember that the only person who can liberate you as a young person is you. No amount of drugs, chasing material possessions, or outward wealth can change your situation. Hashtag education. Education and more education will liberate you. Enjoy your youth day and the rest of the youth month, and use every minute of your life to make your life better. Hashtag no to drugs. No to the abuse of women and children. Hashtag no to the burning of schools. Hashtag long live the struggle of our country. I thank you.
Thank you, thank you. Long live the struggle of the youth of our country. Long live.
Thank you very much, Lisedi, for the message to the young people. We'll now invite Tlalane Mufokeng to come on stage and welcome the President on behalf of all of us. Where are you, Tlalane? Masilalele Tlalane, kukhona laba baculayo ngapha ngasemuva. Imani kancane bo. Tlalane. Hello. 1963, the people's president was taken away by security men, all dressed in their uniform of brutality. Oh no, my black president. Hello, everybody. Umani mbona nginje ngenxa yakho Tambo, nibona nginje ngenxa yakho Mandela. Umani mbona ngiqhenya ngenxa yakho Sisulu, nibona ngiqhenya ngenxa yakho Mbeki. Umani mbona ngihleka ngenxa yakho Luthuli, nibona ngihleka ngenxa yakho Hani. Ningamaqhawe ethu, ningabaphathi bethu, ningabelusi bethu, ningama-Afrika oqobo. Nishiye izwe lenu, nashiya imizi yenu, nadela impilo zenu, nalwela inkululeko. Ngiyanesaba mina, ngiyahlonipha mina, ngiyanibonga lonke enikwenzela uMzansi. Uma nibona ngivota ngenxa yakho Zuma, nibona ngivota
Brothers and sisters who said enough was enough and left their country, homes and families, crossed rivers, forests, hills and mountains, sleeping God knows where, to fight for freedom. And to all those who remained and kept the fire burning here at home, we all want to say to you, Asiabo Mama Khan. Get into mention some over. Honorable respect, terrible great musicians. Mama Miriam Ageva, let Amur, Dagi Karkosime, Jonas Bamba, Iofra Yumasigela, Nebaba Moshe, Moses Muleleva, Agusang Alingena, Awina Eningasel, like O Chris Honey, Abraham Tira, Steve Biko, Matthew Groniwe, Rufus Mplenge, Reverend Africana, Chief Albert Lutu, Chief Mapumo, Hosso Siafolo, Sibati Tabe, Joachim Nube, Bosu Bilagazi, Ausieti Machinery, Tami Mnyele, Reverend Namani, Sam Mulele, Lux Matuze, Msizi Asina Mali Dube, Zef Mutupeng, Mawetu Dwanambi Agachisari. Oh, the list goes on and on and on. And others who died tragically. Oh, Kansani Aboniko, Ngoti Kazileu, Alikitaganje. Brothers and sisters, that there is still a lot to be done in a beautiful country, South Africa.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, comrades. We are today reconnecting with the youth of June 16, 1976, and as the class of 2016, we commit ourselves to make education fashionable. We commit ourselves to make education fashionable. We commit that in as much as we will protest, we will chant and sing, but we also commit that never in our name shall a school be banned, never in our name shall a library be banned, never in our name shall we see Parliament or any public building being trashed, not in our name, because as young people, we are committed to move South Africa forward. And it is only through positive energy, it is only through visionary leadership that we will continue to move South Africa forward. And we say in unison, down with alcohol abuse, down! Down with Nyaupe, down! Down with Nyaupe, down! Down with blessers, down! Down with sugar daddies, down! Down with sugar daddies, down! Forward to education, forward! Forward to distinctions, forward! Forward to entrepreneurs, forward! Forward to a youth-led future in the spirit of those who died in June 16, 1976. As we invite with a warm welcome, and I want you to again scream as loud as you can as we welcome the President of the Republic of South Africa on stage to come and give us the main message. He is not going to come here until you shout as high as possible to welcome the President. Comrade President.
Thank you, Director of the program. Baba, Deputy Minister Manamela, Deputy President Cyril Ramaphosa, Ministers and Deputy Ministers, the Premier of Gauteng, Mr. David Makura, and MECs of this province, the Executive Mayor of the City of Johannesburg, Councillor Pax Tau, members of Parliament, National Parliament who are here, members of provincial legislatures, religious leaders who are here, traditional leaders, members of the June 16 Foundation, and all veterans and families of the victims of the June 16 uprising, members of the diplomatic corps, Mpagati wase Soweto, our young achievers who are with us here today, fellow South Africans, Tumelang, Sanbonani, Molweni, Tobela, Loshisani, Rimasholoni, good day. Thank you very much indeed. Patriots, we greet you. We greet you all on this historic day in our country. We are marking this year's National Youth Day by commemorating the 40th anniversary of the June 16, 1976 student uprising. The country is celebrating the heroism of students who stood up to the apartheid state as they fought for their rights and the liberation of their country from racial oppression and subjugation. We are also today reflecting on the achievements, challenges, and opportunities facing the current generation of young people under the theme, Youth Moving South Africa Forward. Lamakawe ayefunda ezikoleni zalapha eSoweto, Komatibane High, Morris Isaacson High, Pefeni High, Naledi High, nezinye izikole akhombisa isibindi esiyisimanga, abhekana ngqo namaphoyisa wombuso wengcindezelo. Students revolted not only against the imposition of Afrikaans, but against Bantu education because they knew it was inferior and that it was designed to prepare them to be drawers of water and hewers of wood. The apartheid ideology espoused that whites were by nature superior and that blacks were inherently inferior. The architect of institutionalized racism, Hendrik Verwoerd, the then Minister of Native Affairs, had clearly expressed the regime's views about black people and their future. He had this to say, and I quote him, "There is no place for the Bantu in European community above the level of certain forms of labor. What is the use of teaching the Bantu child mathematics when it cannot use it in practice? That is quite absurd. Education must train people in accordance with their opportunities in life, according to the sphere in which they live." Unquote. Heavily armed police opened fire on the students as they were marching peacefully towards this stadium, had refused to disperse when the police ordered them to disperse. 15-year Huston Ndlovu and 12-year-old Hector Peterson were the first to be brutally killed by the police. The death toll later increased. We salute all those who fell in this battle, and not only the two young heroes. The names of all are engraved at the Hector Peterson Memorial for generations to know and appreciate their sacrifices. We warmly welcome the veterans of the uprising and the members of the June 16 Foundation at this commemoration today and salute them for their selfless sacrifices. Scores of student activists went into exile, fleeing police brutality. Others sadly died in foreign lands leaving families in anguish, such as Sietsi Mashinini. Many were imprisoned for long periods, such as Khotso Siatlolo and others. Others went missing, such as Mbuyisa Makubu, who is in the icon picture taken by photographer Sam Zima, in which he is seen carrying Hector Peterson with his sister Antoniette Sitole running frantically next to them. We also acknowledge the journalists who covered the uprising under difficult conditions for generations to see what happened in June 1976. Indeed, our freedom was not free. Many paid a heavy price for it. Many lives were destroyed. Many lives were lost. We salute the parents and community leaders who supported the students, Mama Albertina Sisulu, Mama Winnie Mandela, the leadership of the then Black Parents Association, the Soweto Committee of 10, and other structures. We acknowledge the contribution of the doctors, nurses, and other health professionals who treated the injured, and the religious leaders who provided pastoral care and leadership. We also acknowledge the 400 white students from Wits University who marched in solidarity with the Soweto students, demonstrating the non-racial nature of our struggle. We have come a long way indeed as a country and as a nation since 1976. The struggle and sacrifices of the class of 1976 were not in vain. We proudly defeated Verwoerd and his racist ideology and ushered in a free and democratic South Africa in 1994. We now live in a constitutional democracy with a constitution that enshrines the rights of all, regardless of race, color, or creed. Race no longer determines where one lives or where one goes to school or church, or what work one can do. Black people no longer have to carry passes or seek permits to live and work in urban areas. Indeed, there are no longer public amenities that are designated for certain race groups only, such as beaches or public transport. These are all examples of the manifestations of the institutionalized racism that we lived through, which made South Africa the skunk of the world. Today, we live in a vibrant democracy, and we have worked hard to build strong democratic state, strong institutions, the three arms of the state, the executive, parliament, and the judiciary perform their tasks cooperatively, advancing democracy and promoting the rights of our people. Our Constitution also creates the Chapter 9 institutions which protect our democracy, such as the South African Human Rights Commission, Commission on Gender Equality, the Office of the Public Protector, the Commission for Protection of Religious, Cultural and Linguistic Communities, the Independent Electoral Commission, and the Auditor General. We live in a country where freedom of expression, association, and of the media are enshrined in the Constitution, where we know we will not be shot and killed for staging a peaceful march to state our grievances. Today, we also live in a country where government has a comprehensive program and agenda of improving the quality of life of our people. Millions of people now have access to water, electricity, housing, hospital care, quality education, and other services, which has led to an improvement in the quality of life. We are aware that some people are still waiting for these services, given the backlog we have. Impilo isingcono kakhulu kubantu kusukela ngo-1994 kulabo izidingo ezingakafiki kubona siyeza nakubona. Ngeke uhulumeni wentando yeningi aphumule bengakazitholi bonke abantu izidingo zabo. Siyosebenza ubusuku nemini. South Africa is indeed a much better place than it was when the students stood up and said enough is enough in June 1976. But the struggle continues. We will never rest until we achieve a more equal society and prosperous society, and a society without poverty and unemployment. By denying the majority of the population quality education, the apartheid regime disadvantaged the country and the South African economy immensely. Given the usage of education as an instrument of subjugation by the apartheid regime, the democratic government decided to make education an instrument of liberation. Education is an apex priority and receives the biggest chunk of the national budget. Each year, we build new schools and refurbish others to improve the learning environment. Government has built 795 schools since 2009 at a cost of 23 billion rand. We have built 78 new libraries in addition to 304 that have been upgraded to improve access to education. At least 80% of our public schools are now no-fee schools, and 9 million children are exempted from paying school fees. In this way, the country is making progress with regards to free basic education for the poor and the working class. Poverty must not prevent a child from obtaining an education. 9 million children also receive free meals at school, as hunger must not prevent children from poor households from performing at their optimal level in school. Government is also building 3 new universities and 12 technical education colleges to expand access to higher education. Moving with the times, government is also investing more and more in information and communication technology in education. Right here in Gauteng, children were offered tablets to promote e-learning in our schools. At the national level, we promote access to information and communication technologies in all schools nationwide through our Operation Pakesa program aimed at fast-tracking the delivery of government programs linked to the National Development Plan. Government is also increasing funding for education. The National Student Financial Aid Scheme, NSFAS, funding for training, vocational training, colleges, known as TVET colleges, has increased from 318 million rand in 2010 to 2.3 billion rand in 2016. The objective is to promote technical education and provide more electricians, welders, plumbers, and other artisans for the economy. Access to NSFAS at universities and universities of technology also increases each year. We appeal to defaulting NSFAS beneficiaries to play their part and make repayments to the fund once they start working, so that other students can also be assisted. We know that many more students are still struggling to afford tertiary education because they come from poor families. We appointed a judicial commission to look into the feasibility of free higher education for the country. I look forward to receive the Commission's report and recommendations. In paying tribute to the class of 1976, we urge our youth to make education their apex priority too. Nothing must distract you from obtaining education. As government and communities, we must all play our part to make schools safer and conducive to learning and teaching. We thus need to address the problem of violence in some of our schools. Learners have been attacked and killed in some schools. There have also been cases of teachers being attacked by learners or teachers attacking learners. There is also the prevalent problem of bullying in some schools, which can have a very detrimental effect on learners who are victims and others who witness the abuse of others. Udlame ezikoleni luyinkinga enkulu bakwethu. Kunezingane ezifika nezikhali ezikoleni zihlukumeze ezinye kanye nothisha. Lenkinga idinga ukubonisana kubazali, othisha, umphakathi namaphoyisa, senze izikole ziphephe nezingane zifunde kahle ezikoleni zingaphazamiseki. Another serious and very painful matter affecting our youth is the abuse of drugs and alcohol. Indications are that between 7.5% and 31% of South Africans have an alcohol problem or are at risk. Some children dodge school and are seen drinking at taverns in school uniforms. We welcome and support the campaign by the Congress of South African Students, COSAS, against alcohol abuse and the wearing of school uniforms in taverns. We urge local authorities not to grant liquor licenses to outlets that sell liquor to school children or who operate near schools, clearly targeting school children as customers. Such licenses must be reviewed. We have a duty to protect our children. On drugs, the United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime report of 2014 indicated that more than 270,000 South African citizens were defined as problem drug users. The abuse of drugs is threatening to destroy many families and therefore destroy our nation. Ake sinciphise bakwethu etshwaleni. Some parents live in fear of their children who terrorize them and neighbors due to the abuse of nyaupe, hunga, cocaine, heroin, and other drugs. We appeal to our youth to say no to drugs. Those who are already addicted should seek treatment. Government is building treatment centers in every province to make treatment accessible. We thank all young people who have sought treatment. The report from the South African Community Epidemiology Network on drugs use indicates that the following numbers of young people received treatment between January and June 2015 from the ages of 10 and 39. Bakwethu umuntu oneminyaka ewu10 ingane le. Hawu bandla. Niyalibulala izwe. 3,677 in Gauteng, 2,869 in the Western Cape, 93 in Limpopo, and Mpumalanga, and 290 in the Eastern Cape. We urge parents and communities to encourage more drug users to seek help. We urge stakeholders and communities to use the International Day Against Drugs, against drug abuse on the 26th of June to raise awareness against this scourge and support that is provided to addicts. Sixwayisa labo abadayisela izingane utshwala kanye nezidakamizwa ukuthi baphula umthetho futhi babulala isizwe okudayisela ingane into enje. Kumele baboshwe babhadle ejele iminyaka eminingi. Umphakathi mawubambisane nabazali namaphoyisa zibanjwe lezi zigebengu lezi zigilamkhuba ezibulala ingane. Compatriots, we also need to protect our youth, especially young women and girls, from abuse and exploitation through new shocking tendencies in our country, such as the so-called sex parties or sex stokvels, known as the mavuso. Awu naze nakhohlakala abantu. Yo. Hey. Nizokwesatshwa. Angaze nguzwe lokho. uNkulunkulu ababekhohlakele kwamanye amazwe wabajezisa. Wabafaka umlilo basha. ngethuke kabi. Sex party. Hayibo. Kanti liyafizwe sihlezi nje. Hayi. Patrons at taverns reportedly take young women home overnight at a price announced at the tavern by the host. We should not subject our young women to this abuse and danger. The long-term impact on their lives and also on our successful fight against HIV and AIDS is too ghastly to contemplate. Government will soon launch a campaign targeting young women to educate them against such practices. We also need to educate men against using women as objects in this manner. Laba bantu abokwakha imizi yabo uma bekhula. Msana ukubancintsha ikusasa. We must not deprive these young women the future which is comfortable and dignified. Compatriots, I also wish to remind South Africans or South African youth to uphold values that we hold dear as a nation, such as Ubuntu and respect. Decent human beings respect one another, regardless of age. Even if they disagree, they do so with respect and dignity. Hooliganism and thuggery do not build a nation. In the world, there's no nation of hooligans. Sekhumbuza intsha ukuthi inhlonipho ibaluleke kakhulu nakunoma isiphi isizwe. Hloniphani abazali, othisha, bese nihloniphana nani futhi ukuze nibe abaholi abaqotho bakusasa. Isizwe esiphilayo, isizwe esakhiwe ngenhlonipho, hayi ngobuxhwanguxhwangu. Sizobe siwahloniphe, sizobe siwahloniphe sizobe siwahloniphile amaqhawe kaJune 16, 1976 uma sihlonipha, sihloniphana, sihlonipha abadala, sihloniphe nezwe lethu elihle uMzansi Afrika. Inhlonipho iyisisekelo somuntu nokuziphatha. Siyisisekelo sokuqala esenza umehluko phakathi kwethu nezilwane. Umuntu ufanele ahloniphe, inhlonipho ibalulekile. Futhi abe nesazela engenzi into embi le angafuni ukuthi yenziwe kuyena, akangayenzi kwabanye abantu. Compatriots, I wish to raise the matter of violent community protests again, as these are threatening to destroy the social fabric of our society. we should remember that not a single school was burned during the June 16, 1976, during the student uprising. Sadly, we have seen horrible incidents in recent times. Students have done the unthinkable and burned university buildings on some campuses and destroyed other facilities and furniture just to communicate that they cannot afford the fees. That conduct is unforgivable and totally unacceptable. The nation recently faced the horror of the burning of more than 20 schools in Vuana, Limpopo, by people who are unhappy about being made part of another municipality. Why do we do this? Why do we believe we are building a future of our country if our building it is to destroy it? If we destroy schools, where our kids are going to go in and receive education tomorrow? There is something wrong in our society if we believe this is correct. In no way we can say to be very sober as South Africans if we can ban the future of our kids in the manner in which we do. At times we have protests for services, but ban the very services that we are calling for. It is an absurdity. I think the country must discuss this and reach some agreement. All of us at different sectors, we need to discourage this. It's not helpful. The resources that are meant to bring development are diverted to go and repair and rebuild what we have destroyed. It doesn't make good sense. Please, let us be sober. We would like to congratulate COSAS for their recent very successful and important march against the burning of schools by parents. How could we be unreasonable more than our children? This is a serious matter. Another community decided to burn a local clinic which serves them to demonstrate their unhappiness that it had electricity while the township experienced an electricity outage. Let me repeat this. Nizozwa kahle. Another community decided to burn a local clinic which serves them to demonstrate their unhappiness that this clinic had electricity while the township experienced the electricity outages. I don't understand. The banning of trains to demonstrate unhappiness when they arrive late is another shocking behavior in this country. While the thought that was shocking another community in the KZN banned factories which provide employment to the community to demonstrate unhappiness with a local councillor. Whilst we are saying there is unemployment, we must create jobs so that people can be employed, then the very people burn the factories. Certainly, there is something wrong in our society. Such actions give an impression that we are going astray as a nation. There can be no justification for such violence in a country where, unlike in June 1976, we have access to government at the three spheres to communicate our grievances peacefully. We need to undertake some serious introspection and to come up with serious solutions as a nation. Asenze izinto ngendlela efanele bakwethu. Kuyathusa ukuthi abantu bashise izikole, amafemu, imitholampilo, ngisho nezitimela imbala ngoba bethukuthele. Konke lokhu kusibuyisela emuva. Alikho izwe elake lakhiwa ngentukuthelo. Masibambisaneni sakhe izwe lethu. Uma kunezinkinga mazixoxwe izinkinga zixazululwe kahle. Udlame alwakhi. Akekho umuntu ongathi ubona sakhela lapha nje sasizwa udlame lwasakhela. Bakwethu sikhathazeke kakhulu sonke ukuthi isimo somnotho ezweni senza kube nzima ukuthi intsha ithole imisebenzi. We need the economy to grow so that jobs can be created, especially for our youth. Towards this goal, government continues to look for ways of further promoting confidence in the economy, working with labor and business. Recently, we have seen new investments by companies in the country, such as Toyota, BMW, Nestle, Mercedes-Benz, Dassault, and all joy comes when there are new investments. There are others as well. These investments demonstrate confidence in our country and in its economy. We are working in difficult climate as the situation is negative globally as well. We encourage young people to open up their own small businesses, as well as the democratic government has created opportunities for support by many agencies within government. For an example, a lot has been achieved in the past 5 years by the National Youth Development Agency, the NYDA, on education and skills development and in supporting young entrepreneurs. Government departments nationally and provincially and municipalities as well have also been directed to support youth businesses in every possible way. Work opportunities are also provided through the expanded public works program targeting women, youth, and persons with disabilities. These include environmental programs working on fire, wetlands, water, and others. Our biggest challenge is that young people do not know about the services that government offers. It is for this reason that during this Youth Month, various government departments are holding exhibitions and road shows to showcase the services that they provide. Compatriots, as said earlier, the theme of National Youth Day is Youth Moving South Africa Forward. In line with the theme, we are proudly joined by some young achievers who are our special guests today. The June 16 generation made it possible for them to sit here today as young professionals in a free and democratic South Africa. Some of the young women are in careers that were previously viewed as male-dominated. We have the Chief Executive Officer of Betha Towa Hospital in Johannesburg, Dr. Nogwetemba Mchali Khader. Who is the youngest hospital chief executive in the country. We have a software developer who produces defensive strategies to prevent cyber attacks. Miss Angel shows balapha ya baningaboni bangapi. We welcome Miss Dorcas Modise, a chemical engineer at Eskom. We have Miss Zintle Yende, a plumber. Part of the Department of Water and Sanitation's War on Leaks program. They are dealing with that program. We welcome the award-winning musician and rap artist and winner of the Song of the Year at the South African Music Awards this month, Umthembeni Emiti Ndov. Puti Chelopo as a Master of Science in Medical Science and focuses on the use of nanomedicine for drug delivery purposes. We have a number of young entrepreneurs. Mr. Tabiso Mwabe and Mr. Zenzele Dlomo manufactured toilet paper. Sophia Stordel manufacturers leather goods. Sandile Shezi is a forex trader. Lapu Disego produces aluminium products and windows, as well as Makeda Koza, who runs a cooperative which produces cooking oil and beauty products from marula plant extracts. These young people have become job creators and employ other young people. We are also hosting the winner of the 2016 Standard Bank Young Artists Award for theater, Miss Jade Boas. Young people are moving and they are showing there is a lot to be done in South Africa. In the arts, we also have a film director who produces films, reality shows, documentaries, and other forms of entertainment. Miss Nokolo Mtetwa Nyambos. We have a mechanical engineer who has worked in a number of power stations and fields, Mr. Luvuyo Feni. We are also hosting a chemical engineering technician, Mr. Siabonga Gift Taba. We have 9 creative designers. Andile Galvane. We urge learners to emulate them and ensure that we produce more and more skills that are needed by the economy, and to also skills that enrich our culture and heritage. As we did last year, we thought it was important to showcase these young achievers that indeed ubudoda nobumama abukhulelwa, you can achieve at any age uma ukhuthele. Compatriots, freedom has opened up opportunities for our sports teams to compete abroad. We are proud to announce that we will be sending Team South Africa to the Rio Summer Olympics and Paralympics in August and September. We wish them all the best. Compatriots, on the 3rd of August, we go to the polls to elect new municipalities who are going to represent us in the municipalities. We urge the youth to come out in their thousands to exercise this right that many died for. Let me reiterate that we urge the current generation to pay tribute to Hector Peterson, Tsietsi, Mashinini, Khotso, Sietlolo, Buiselo, Makubu, Hassan, Dlovu, and many others by prioritizing education. We are looking up to you as youth to move South Africa forward, and that you will do armed with the most powerful weapon of all, education. Nothing will stop on your way. Yes, we wish you all a meaningful National Youth Day today. We thank you all for coming to remember our heroes. Thank you very much.
Deputy Minister Manamela and SABC Masbubu. Our thanks and gratitude to His Excellency President Jacob Zuma for the message of hope and inspiration to the youth as we continue to build a united country that creates prosperity for all. We say in particular to our youth to take advantage of the various opportunities available to them, facilitated through the National Youth Development Plan, the TEPO 500,000 program in Gauteng, and the Vulindlele Jozi program in our city of Johannesburg. Let me express our gratitude to the Deputy President and all of government, to our Premier, ministers, and all those present today for joining us in this important occasion. Thank you very much.
proceedings here from the Orlando Stadium in Soweto. Well, this is where we were commemorating, celebrating these heroes and heroines of 1976, the Soweto uprisings. We saw President Jacob Zuma there urging all young people of today to emulate the likes of Hector Peterson, Hastings Ndlovu, and Tsietsi Mashinini, urging them, of course, to be exemplary in this day and age, and not forgetting, of course, the sacrifices that have been made for them to enjoy all the democratic successes and all the perks, I guess, that come with democracy in 2016. I'm afraid that's all we have for you here from the Orlando Stadium. Thank you very much for joining us, and we'll hand over now to the studio in Johannesburg.
At 1400 hours, those were live visuals from Orlando Stadium at the official June 16 student uprising commemorations. We saw quite a packed stadium today, people young and old in their school uniforms paying tributes to those youth who actually lost their lives on this fateful day back in 1976.